I feel like a star, but only strictly where I'm famous. I'm in this for the longest haul, like we'll see where it takes us. I'm throwing back these double shots like whiskey here is weightless. Cause this career I chose was even riskier than Vegas, yo.
Oh, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Colby Rebel Show. I am your host, Colby Rebel. This is going to be an exciting evening tonight. We have a special treat in store for you. It is such an honor to have this gentleman back on air with me. I met him a few years ago at this point in Lilydale, which, as many of you know, I talk and speak highly of so often. It's the largest and oldest spiritual community in the United States, perhaps the world. So, and Joseph will talk us about it a little bit more. But my guest tonight, there's so much to say, right? It would take all the time just to give that introduction. But he is a medium, he is a teacher, he is a spirit artist. He works around the world, internationally. He has award winning art, award winning teaching, and he is just revered by so many that know and love him as being someone that is unbelievably accurate and precise, authentic. He truly has a passion not only for spirit and doing the service that's needed, but also ensuring that his students have the nurturing and care that they need. And so it's quite an honor to see someone just so unbelievably gifted, so humble, so loving, and on air with us to talk. So please put your hands together for Mr. Joseph Shiel. Oh, hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm fine, Colby. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm blushing, I think. Big guy and red cheeks.
Oh, it's
Very,
so
very nice.
great to
Thank you.
have you. It's so great to have you. And how are
Mhm.
you doing? How is life for you in our COVID pandemic environment?
Well, I've got to say I think it's challenging. I think I'm much, I'm blessed. I've got a lot of good things going for me too. So I really feel for those that are struggling, and hopefully I've been trying to offer some things for them as well to just help get through this, because it is difficult around the country and out where I am as well. So everyone's in my prayers for sure, because I know it's been rough on lots of people, and I've had the one thing that's happened good for me is I got to go take care of my grandson for a couple of
Oh.
months, and that was that was a lot of fun. Hardest job I ever had, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet they always have so much energy, those little ones, don't they?
Oh yeah, 18 months old. Yeah, I can't even catch up with him, but that's okay.
Wow, how wonderful,
Hmm.
though. How
Yeah.
wonderful.
Hmm.
So, you
Hmm.
have had such an unbelievable journey, one that continues to grow. You are just
Hmm.
nonstop in your service to spirit. And it wasn't always like what's interesting, you grew up in a very Irish, Catholic Irish, am I correct? Catholic Irish
Correct.
background.
Yes. Hmm.
And the Judaism and going to priesthood, and then you took this wild detour. I mean, right? Wide right.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah, I never became a priest, but I entered into a couple of different seminary type programs, and finally all of this was welling up. So I said, I guess it's time for me to go figure out what's going on. So that's what brought me to all this spirit art and mediumship.
well, what's
Yeah.
incredible is, that is a journey. You knew as a young man, at a young age, your soul
Hmm.
was exploring. You knew there was something beyond this physical world, even at a young
Oh,
age.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
for a lot of the listeners out there, they face challenges of coming out of the spiritual closet, as we like to call it, or you know, what about their
Hmm.
family? Like when you first came out, how did your family respond? Were they super supportive originally, or did they have to warm up to the idea? Do you mind sharing? Do you
Yeah. I think I have 5 sisters and a brother, and I think they all thought I fell off the deep end. I think that's exactly what it was, and my dad was alive at the time, and my stepmother's still alive and kicking, but you know, at the time, I really had a quandary in letting them know. I didn't know exactly how to do it, but the more I became known, and the websites came out and that type of thing, I said, if I don't tell them. My father has the same name as mine, and he used to always be very, very a stickler about, don't embarrass the family, don't,
Oh, yes.
old Boston Irish, I got to tell you. So like, and he was junior and I'm the third, so he was like, you be careful, don't get our name in the mud and that type of thing. And he was an executive, he's well known himself. So uh, I was worried about what he would think. And when I finally told him, we had a heart to heart. He broke down in tears for a while, and
Oh.
then I thought maybe, oh, here I really broke the old man's heart. This is bad. This is real bad. I mean, I've given him some scares before, but this is it. I shouldn't have done this to this guy. And he told me to shut up, which is what one of his favorite words. He, but he told me to shut up, and he said, you don't understand. You're just like your mother. And my mother had passed when I was 12, and she was an artist, and she was a musician, and she was a wonderful, wonderful person, and she had disability along with both my grandmothers. So that's where it came from. And he said, I've been trying to keep you from this all your life. And I said, why would you do that? And he said, because it scares me. And I can understand that, because it scared me too. And I think a lot of people today are growing up with this, and so they're a lot more easily going about getting into it and learning, and they want to learn. And that's unfamiliar to me. Most of the people I know from my generation were almost terrified to get into it, unless they had real, open-minded, maybe hippie parents or something. They really had trouble getting into it. And I myself, was really against all this stuff for a long time. Having a religious background, of a heavy Catholic background, I really was terrified of delving into this and having, like, this could be evil, this could be this.
Yeah.
And it took a long time for me to experience what I've experienced, become truthful in my own heart about what's going on, and become okay with it. And to the point where I can stand up and stand with my head high and say, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And hopefully, the younger people getting into it today will not have that same wall to break down, that same road to walk. They'll find it a little bit easier with all the new things that are happening and all the new science that's at stake here. And we're learning so much, and we've got a long way to go, but I think there's a brave new world and a new understanding of all this. So I think it's wonderful you're doing a show and getting out there and letting people know it exists. It's not a bunch of baloney. And so congratulations on that, and thank you so much for what you do. That's really fantastic.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But really, it's people like you, the influence. Like you guys are the trailblazers. So here's what's interesting. I know I read that you really help people, all religions, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
Catholicism, Judaism, Buddhism, you really, help people embrace this world as well.
Hmm.
How is that for you? How do you help someone come to terms with the spirit world? And can you share a little bit of your beliefs? Like, do you still believe in God and Jesus? And do you mind sharing a little bit of that?
No, not at all. I was asked a question one time, and I was asked, and it was and that was, is Jesus your savior? And I shocked the group because they were hoping I'd say no, and I said, yeah, but not how you were thinking about it. And they said, what are you talking about? And I said, I believe that the way Jesus or Christ walked was the correct walk, was the way to live the best life. And if I correct, he said, you can do this too. This and more you can do. And uh, he was he was talking to brothers and sisters, to all of us, saying we're, and the same goes for a lot of masters. They understood that there was something greater than ourselves. I think Gandhi said it best. He said that there's no there's there's no religions in heaven. Thank God. You know, and because all religions have some good things about them. They have some they're moral compasses for certain communities and certain places, but they also do a terrible thing, which is separate us.
Yeah.
And we're not. They separate us by race, color, creed, whatever the case may be, and and they put us into these class structures and all this other. And we're all in this together. We're all in this world, and we all matter, all of us. And we all have a significant and very, very, uh, I would say, special place in the midst of everything. And thank God we're different.
Yeah.
Thank God we've all bring our own talents and our own tools and our own interests and our own struggles, and even the clashes and crashes of life become a way for all of us to find a way forward to peace. And so my belief is that no matter what anybody's going through, no matter how they were brought up, um, I need to respect that situation. I don't need to agree with everything they believe in. I don't need to say yes to everything they say. I but I do have to say to them, I honor where you're coming from and I honor where you're at, but I'm going to put my 2 cents in too and say this is how I see it in the state of love, not in the state of, oh, I'm better than you or you're worth it. That type of stuff just tears us all down. It
Yeah.
doesn't build anything up at all.
Yeah.
So when we reach to love one another, no matter what, that's when we really begin to believe. And it's over. I guess I've been lucky enough, blessed enough, fortunate enough in over many years of thousands of readings to not be told directly by spirit what it's all about, because I don't think that's really happened. But I've experienced enough over and over and over again to know that their wisdom, those who have been here, done this already, made the mistakes, earned the t-shirt, if you will,
Yeah.
they express to us their need and their hope for us to find a way to love one another, and weren't we told that as well? um, Above all else, love one another as I've loved you,
I love that.
so
Now, here's the other thing. I want to know, were you an artist first and then spirit art came in, or was spirit talking? Like, how did you end up being able to draw people on the other side? Like, it's not like you saw a photo of them first, right? They're connecting and talking to you, and then you draw the
mhm.
photo. How does that happen? Can you please? I am not a drawer, so I'm amazed by this. So please share.
Honestly, it was an accident. I my first spirit drawing was when I was 5, and I was laying on the tile floor of the foyer and drawing on a piece of paper, and I drew a very detailed drawing with about 11 people in it, and it was a whole bunch of priests, and my mother freaked out, and priest and nuns showed up at the house and they looked at it. And what was amazing about it was the dexterity was good. It was as good, almost as good as I draw now. It wasn't just crayons on the wall like I usually did. It was something to it. So, in other words, there was an influence other than me helping me do that. That made those grandmothers I told you about and my great aunts and things like that, kind of pushed me towards the priesthood. And the old Boston Irish, you're either going to be a policeman, policeman, fireman, or a priest. One of these. Those are your choices, right? Uh, but and Dad wanted me to be a businessman. But the fact of the matter is that I went on for years like that, and yes, I painted, and I love art. I love to create. I love to sculpt. I love to do work in stone and steel and all kinds of things over the years. I didn't get a lot of time to do it, so but I tried to cut out some time to do it over the years. When I was in the diaconate program in the library one night, I'm dyslexic, so I have my tricks that got me through college and and helped me in grad school, where I would try to read these volumes of philosophy books and theology books and that type of thing. But I have my ways of getting around things by figuring things out, if you will. Reading different ways, if you will. And a lot of times, if I start to read and I get very heavily into reading, I fall asleep, and I'm just going to start to nod off.
Mhm.
So instead of letting myself fall asleep, I doodle, and that keeps me going, and it kind of puts me into what I would know now as an altered space. So in that altered space, or that altered mind, if you will, I stay awake, I read, I retain what I'm doing, and I'm doodling at the same time. So I started doodling pictures of people, and the strange thing is people in the library started to recognize who I was drawing, and they were freaking out. And they said, why are you drawing my uncle? And I said, I'm just drawing a guy with a baseball cap. That's all I'm doing. Be quiet. We're in the library, And he's, no, you don't understand. My uncle died 4 months ago, and that's my uncle. How do you know my uncle? I said, I don't know your uncle, you know. And they would be, zealot about. They'd be like, overly passionate about the fact that this drawing. So I rip the drawing off and say, "Here, would you like it?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, Tom seemed like a nice guy." And they'd say, "How'd you know his name?" And then I started freaking out, you know. And I remember going home and telling my family, I just, something weird's happening to me. I don't know what's going on. So I
Wow.
talked to a bunch of priest friends, a bunch of deacon friends, a couple of rabbis I know, and I talked to them and I said, "What the hell's going on with me?" And next thing I know, I went to a therapist because I thought I must be losing my mind. And a couple of the old priests said, "You're being attacked by the devil," that type of thing. And it scared the daylights out of me, and and I really got into a lot of drama over this, and finally I just relaxed and I said, well, why don't I try this? And I had a very wonderful man who was one of my spiritual advisors, mentors at the time, and he said, I believe you have a special gift, a real gift. You should go and check it out. Work out
Wow.
as much as you can about it, find out as much as you can about it, and then make a decision. Stop worrying about it, just figure it out. So I did. And that's when I learned about Lilydale. I learned about other things and other people that did this. And I went to my first circle, and I went to a shaman. I went to all these other different things trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And I went to my first circle, and we all meditated for a while, which was new for me as well. And as I meditated, then they said, "Well, what did you get?" And people started talking about, they got this fairy land, and somebody else got, something on the water, and like little pictures of things. And then I went around and had people for everybody in the circle. And the lady that was running the circle at the time, I don't even remember who that was, but she says, "Well, don't mind him. He's been doing this for a long time." And I thought to myself, "Lady, you have no idea." I said, "What? Why?" And so I realized that something more was going on, and something more than I had been taught or that I had been allowed to know throughout my life and my religious background, both in Catholicism, Buddhism, etc., and the paths that I've tried. There was something more, and I needed to know that. So I started to chase this like it was like it was breath, and I really needed to know what the heck was going on with me, and so I still chase it. To be honest with you, Colby, it's like
Yeah.
I don't know everything, but I certainly want to know more all the time.
I love that, and I agree. I feel like there's this thirst that we're still growing or we're still learning, no matter how long you've been doing it or been a medium. Like I think when you're really serving spirit, you're always growing and learning. people when they're opening up to spirit, I think the nudge, there's like this nudge, right? Like you had that nudge that there's something
Hmm.
more, even if you can't place your finger on it, even if you're not quite sure what's happening. I think that that's the time to investigate your gifts, that to explore. Would
Hmm.
you agree?
I agree completely. I
Yeah.
think if you feel that nudge, if you feel that, some people might call it a calling, some
Yeah.
people might call it a push. Some people might call it an awakening or a realization that, wait a minute, there's more to this than just going to the 9 to 5 every day, and not that that's not important, but it's there's more to life than what's sitting in front of us. There's the unseen world that's constantly there trying to help us.
Oh, all the time. I'm gonna show our followers your spirit
Oh,
art. So, this is incredible. So now, just for anyone watching and looking at this, you have to remember Joseph does not see this physical photo first, right? He does not even know this exists. He's connecting,
right.
communicating, he draws that spirit, and then the person will show a photo. I mean, those are
Mhm.
unremarkable likings. So, has it gotten better over the years? I mean, because this is pretty darn impressive. So, I mean, you couldn't have just
It's
started out
it's
like that.
Well, I probably have thousands of pictures. I don't have photographs to show because I didn't realize to even ask for them and when I first began. I just would give it to the person. People we'd cry over the fact that they
Oh,
saw their mother or their father or their child or whatever the case may be, and I'd hand it off to them. And I always try to do my best and try to do it. Try to get the person. I have had many things happen. Like I go to draw a mom and end up drawing the aunt, get the wrong person on the other side. But I don't see any photographs. I don't look up anybody. I don't have time to Google people and all that stuff. I mean, I really believe in the authenticity of this and keeping a real integrity
yeah,
about the work. And otherwise, I don't want to do it,
yeah,
So I really, have I screwed up and not gotten the right person? Yeah, sure, many times, and I just do my best to see if I can feel and see the essence in my mind. So I draw it in different ways. I see them in my mind. And so it's almost like copying the picture I have in my head, almost holographically, if you will. I feel my way around the drawing and they'll correct me. They'll whisper in my ear and say, that's not my hairdo. It's like, oh, I'm okay, sure. You know, I'll physically feel like I want to do something while I'm blended with the spirit and blended with them, and I want to put my glasses on, so I put the glasses on the picture, that type of thing. So those types of things, and there's a lot more to it that I've realized over the years, but a lot of it comes very, very naturally along with the information that's coming through in the mediumship itself. The mediumship is actually the more important thing. The pictures were important to me because I wanted to kind of prove to myself that I was really getting the right person. That it wasn't just conjecture or about a bunch of generalities. That I really had the person we were talking about.
yeah,
So I started to really work very hard at getting the exact picture or at least the essence of that person as close as possible. And so that's what drives me today. There's great news for all mediums coming in the next few years, though, where the drawings can be done for you, and with artificial intelligence and um, programs that are coming out that will actually draw based on how the medium feels, how they look at things, how they're thinking, and actually capture the picture and draw it on a computer screen. There's some amazing things coming out for mediums, and I think in one way it's going to be scary for mediums because it'll separate you know the girls from the ladies, or if you will, or whatever. That it's really kind of to the point where you'll see who's really seeing what, and
yeah.
that's going to be amazing.
I
Okay.
think that's I mean, what a crazy world. I
Yeah,
mean, like, it's like one of those
moving
things, and you're like,
fast.
how amazing would that be? Now,
It's
you
going to
do
be.
something called Aurograph. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming this Aurograph is based on the aura of the person, right? W-
Correct.
What goes in an Aurograph? So it like what? what are some of the images? I'm going to pull up something here. So for this, right? We've got
You're going to scare
these.
people.
No, these are, but they're so colorful and beautiful, and there's so many
Yeah.
elements to them, right? So, what does these mean? Like, can you just take us through what an autograph is, and how does this information come in? Now, it's differently than the spirit art as we just shown you. So, share
Well, I
this
just
with
I
me.
just finished a program just a while ago on Aurographs, and it'll be offered again next year, on how to produce an autograph, how to go about it, and the drawing is the final kind of journey of the effort, if you will. It is more empathic and psychic, if you will, although we do at times slip into a deeper altered state of mediumship at times. So some of the drawings actually end up with pictures of loved ones in them. I have no intention of doing that at the time, but sometimes it slips in as part of the story. Those autographs are read completely. In that case, you'll notice that each one of them is started with a face. And that's how I started them. There are other people that do autographs, and they do a wonderful job, and they do it in a different way. They have different constructs of how they put them together, and they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. Mine are a depth of the person's soul journey of their life. So what I'm doing is not just telling the story of what was, what is, and what might happen, like the psychic, who's going to get the boyfriend or type of thing. Mine is, where have you been? What have you been through? Where are you now? And what are the choices you have to move forward? And what I try to do is pick the highest and best for your soul's well-being to move forward. So as you read across the page, and here we are in America, we read from left to right. So if you go past, present, and then future,
Oh,
and that's the
wow.
way it works. Okay, and it goes kind of clockwise. But if you notice in each one of those, there's a face in the middle, and that's how I start. Those eyes are kind of the window to that soul, and then the imagery is all speaking loudly. Everything you see in that picture, every line, every color, every movement, every association, the size of things, the blending of things, the way it balances itself, everything about the artwork is kind of capturing that person's essence that's sitting in front of me, or is on the other end of the phone, or whatever the case may be, and then putting that painting together so they can use it almost like an affirmation later on. And
Wow.
a lot of people came back to me and said, I'm going to use this as an affirmation. And I've done these for hundreds and hundreds of people.
I
They
want
take an
one.
awful lot of
I'm like, that sounds really good.
It is cool. It is cool, and the things that come up in it, the information that comes forward, and see animals and things like this. The
Yes.
association of power animals. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's the totem," and I said, "No, it's not your totem, because a totem is a bloodline. So, it's you'd have to be Native American or some from some tribe to have that totem. This is not a totem. This is an animal, and the essence or the nature of that animal is your kind of nature, and so it
Wow.
kind of reads it that way, if you
Wow,
see.
very, very cool. I know sitting in the power is extremely
Hmm.
important to that connection to spirit.
Absolutely.
Can you just share with our listeners your definition of sitting in the power and what is the meaning? And then we're gonna talk a little bit about that Sunday Power Hour.
When I look at sitting in the power, and I know different teachers teach it differently, but it's like wherever two or more of you are, there I am. Okay, there's that higher source, if you will. So when we come together in caring or in service of others, we begin to be joined by a power greater than ourselves. And I believe that. And so we find the strength within ourselves to kind of let go of the unnecessary self, the ego, or whatever, to put ourselves forward, and even vulnerable, if you will, towards the greater good for somebody else's walk in life, somebody else's struggles in life, and be there for them. And when we do a reading as a medium, we are enveloping into that power, using our own, using the power of the actual sitter or the client, and feeling the power and the presence of the spirit world around us. So it starts to come almost like a triangle or a circle, and it keeps coming stronger and stronger and stronger. And the deeper we go, and I'm not saying jump to the other side, I'm saying allow yourself to be washed over by a power of love.
Oh, I love
And in
that.
that power, there is a huge illumination of the truth around things. There is the ability, and the windows and the doors all open for the senses to be heightened and joined. The blending of the spirit's mind and our mind becomes very, very powerful. And then when we invite the actual sitter or the client to join in, not to just be a witness, if you will, not a verifier, like they're going to sit over there. Do you understand that? Yes. Do you understand that? Yes. Do you understand? No. And they sit over on the sidelines. We want them in the game.
Mhm.
And when we have them involved as well, we actually feel the recognition, the family or the familiarity with that person, the wonderful feeling of them in the presence, and the whole history of that life. What was, what is, and what is now becoming is all right there in front of us. And we are uh, mediums that do their work well are extremely blessed with spiritual awakenings and spiritual sensitivities and spiritual well-being in their own life, and it is a healing for them as much as it is for the client who's
Yes.
grieving, as much as it is for the spirit world who is
Mhm.
struggling to come through and talk to somebody. So
Yes.
we are in the midst of that, and there is no greater power that I know humanly that I have ever felt.
It really is something almost hard to put in words at times, right? That feeling that you
Mhm.
get when spirit is with you. And it's I can't even get started, but but in but let's talk about this Sunday power. So you've got this Sunday hour of power, and this is I love this. So this is prayer, it's meditation for the soul. This is
Mhm.
21 weeks. I mean, this is and it's free? I mean, this is crazy.
Right. Mhm.
Explain like what inspired you to do this? What can someone expect and how can they sign up? People are going to want to grab this.
Well, you just go to my website and sign up, and that'll be fine. And you can come and join us. And what we do is, it's not about it's not about religion. It's not a church, if you will, on Sunday, if you will. But I put it on Sunday because of the peace of that day, and maybe the availability of people to come at noontime and just sit for an hour.
Mhm.
And it's about reaching all of our powers together in order to help heal the world or help clarify and bring some light and some clarity and honesty to the world. And so I believe that a lot of people are struggling, a lot of people are hurting, and there's a tremendous amount of fear. And I I would rather people not be afraid. And I know that feeling quite well myself. And so I would rather us come together, and each week there's a little bit of an inspiration and, inspired thought, if you will. And then we do kind of a prayer for healing of others around us, and people can participate and state who they would like to pray for, what they're praying for, if you will, in the world. And then we do a meditation to kind of contemplate that. And each week I do a different meditation. So 21 weeks is a powerful number, the number 21, and we've been through 1, 2, and 3, and each one of them is about creativity and that creative mind. And if you're a medium or you're a psychic who would be watching your show, of course, then that's the mind you're using all the time in your work.
Yes.
You're using the right brain, which is
Yeah.
the creative mind.
Yes.
And that creative mind is one that is co-creative with that power we just talked about. That greater seeing being, that greater good, that soul of souls, that heart of hearts. And that's where the language of things comes through. When we all sit in that together, we feel the oneness of everybody. And what's been interesting so far that even amazed me when I first started it was I have people from all around the world, coming to this, to this hour power. And I didn't want to, sound like some, churchy thing, but I wanted it to be, and it's not cultish. We're not following me or something. It is about us participating together and joining together for a greater light and a greater image and a greater truth in the world. And so I've got people from obscure islands off of Thailand to people from India that are chiming in, to people from Europe that are chiming in, a couple of people from Ireland that are chiming, and and I think it's just wonderful that people can hear the accents of those people, the distance of those people, and see, as a world, we're not that big a place. We are all in this together. And especially right now when we have the pandemic and things like that, I just thought it would be good to have a way to just breathe
Yes.
once a week and just sit quietly in the silence once a week and
Yeah.
just get ourselves together before we, brave another week of what's going on. So
Wow.
that's why I made it that way.
That's incredible, and
I
I
hope
think
everybody
so many.
comes.
Oh, they better come. I mean, how what a beautiful opportunity, and again, just what a blessing that is that you're offering it, especially, for free, especially during these times. Now, we have an event coming up, right? I am
Yeah.
so excited. And this Saturday,
Hmm.
it is World Two Worlds Meet. So 3 mediums, 2 worlds. And this is gonna be beautiful. We obviously have the renowned Janet Nohavik with us, and this is for
Hmm.
her church, for her school, which is also
Right.
amazing. We have you, we have myself, and this is 4 p.m. Pacific time for our people, but 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And
Correct. Correct.
this is I'm really looking forward to it myself. I'm so
Well, I'm
excited to
excited.
work with you.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't. I don't think. I think we worked maybe a couple years ago in Lilydale, and
yes.
you're always so good, and the audience just loves you so much, and I look forward to your readings. I know they do.
Oh,
So it's really
thanks.
kind of cool. So when somebody shows up that actually knows what they're doing, and it's like really fun. And
Oh,
then
thanks.
this is like a thorn between two roses here, but I'm gonna do the best I can, and we'll be drawing too, so there'll be a few pictures drawn. So I hope people come,
Oh, it's
and
gonna be
it's for a
wonderful.
good cause.
Yes.
Janet is on, she's on the path of getting that schoolhouse done as a historical building and a
Yeah.
place of peace and a healing center. So it's
Yeah.
it's quite important. And I know there's lots of charities right now that need things, but I think that's a place that people need as well. So I hope it works out well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this is gonna be really fun. The other thing is, so again, like, you're working with the best of the best in the world. So you've got Janet Nohavik, but in January, you kinda stirred up a little something with Mr. John Holland, right?
Right.
So tell us about this. This is Signs, Symbols, and Images, and it's what,
Yes.
January 21st?
Yes.
7 to 9:30. Just tell us how did this come about?
Well, John and I taught a few years ago sign symbols and silhouettes, and we did that in Florida, and we did a couple of other things. But we have become very good friends, and he is a very strong medium himself, and he's a good man, and I just love working with him, and I think we met through mutual friends, and we started to work together, and so once a year, a couple of times a year, we get together and teach a class, and we have a blast. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it's also um, it's good for us to work together because we challenge each other to even reach for more and reach for more information and push the students to a new level. And I think that's what's great about it. It really helps people gather up their own thoughts, and each time it's a little different. Each time we're using our creativity to kind of push the envelope a little bit more. And if the students come along with that, then they're benefiting greatly. They're going to get some really great stuff out of it. So I'm really excited about that too. You know,
Oh, great.
January is going to be a big month for lots of things. So
Okay,
that's
great. Oh, that's yeah, you've got so much happening. It's so much going on.
trying to
One
keep
thing
going.
you well, you're doing a great job.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask, you've been in this for a good amount of time and you have a lot of
Mhm.
experience and you've met great leaders and you are a great leader yourself. And I wanted to know through this experience, what advice would you give, a medium stepping into this? Like if you had one piece to say, "Hey, listen, in all of my years, if I knew this then or if there's something if someone would have given me these pearls of wisdom or what would you want to say, to those mediums coming in?"
That take your time, don't rush. Take time to unfold and come to know who you are. I tell all my students and all my students in my mentorship program that if you know who you are 100%, then you're going to know very rarely who you're not.
Okay.
In other words, you're going to recognize spirit much better. You're going to also be that instrument, and you're going to know everything that's happening to you and how you're being played by the spirit world and how they're using you to get the information across. And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Lots of people want it to. They want to take a weekend warrior type class and hang out a shingle tomorrow. I think that's a huge mistake. One of the things is you'll begin to adopt bad habits, which will cause you problems later on, or you will think you've done it all, and then you're hurting people without even knowing you are. We deal with people who are suffering greatly. They may have lost a child, they may have lost their wife or their husband. They're in desperate grief, sometimes even in a dangerous place themselves. You could be very detrimental. And what started out to think it was just a lot of fun ends up being quite troubling. I would rather you do what you love and love what you do, follow that type of an idea, but take your time to know it well. And then you'll do it one day and it will grow from there. Build a good foundation so that the house standing on it is going to stand for a long time and stand well. If you don't have a foundation, then everything's going to sink away or blow over, and you're going to give up on it.
Mhm.
And I other students not give up. I know a lot of life keeps happening and life keeps coming at us. And um, there's a lot of things to know when you first start out. I would keep it to yourself, and I would keep it close to the best. I would seek out the best of teachers, and I would take my time. And that's, I think, my biggest advice right there is be kind to you, learn to love you, and learn to know yourself well. And in doing so, all these other things will come together very well, and you'll begin to understand spirit and understand the love that's there for you as well. And it's just an extraordinary experience.
Yeah, that's really great advice and because there are so many people teaching or holding classes and workshops. So it is important to really get those people that have a reputation. I feel like get people that have really studied because that's really
Mhm.
important. I mean, of course it's a natural gift, but there's so much more
Right.
to learn and experience and that self development is so imperative to serving
And I would say
spirit.
Yeah, I would say take what you need and leave the rest if you're going to do that. If you say there's no one to study, I think things being online a lot right now. I mean, one of the things that the COVID-19 has done is forced a lot of people onto Zoom and onto these other venues to teach, and so you have the ability to witness a lot of different types of teachers from all around the world,
Mhm.
and I would take advantage of that. But go with something that feels right for you and feels like that's the path I need to go and that's what I want. And I would stay skeptical. Don't just you fall for something. You fall for one thing, you might fall for anything. We stand for who you are. Stand in your own integrity. Stand in your own truth for yourself. And ask, does that sound true to me? Is that really what I want in my own
Yeah.
soul? Is this something? And if it is, then investigate it. Go further. If it's not, if it sounds like baloney, it probably is. And so avoid it. A lot of the research, um, universities and Forever Family Foundation have done a lot of studies on what we do, and with thousands and thousands of testings of mediums and things like this. 80% or more are frauds. So
Wow.
I would put yourself amongst the great the the greater ones, the ones that know what they're doing, the ones that really do this and do it well for the sake of others. And when you start to sit with those types of people, then don't worry about the abundance. That will
Yeah.
come,
Yeah.
you know. Worry
Yeah.
more about being quality in your work and the body of work that you have. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I know
Mhm.
when I first started, because I'm a Jersey girl. I was
Are you
in
really? I didn't know that. That's great.
really into fitness. I wasn't real
Hmm.
woo woo. Not much in the fairyland, and so I know when I first started, I just was like, "Oh my goodness, I don't fit in." It was very uncomfortable, and I
Yeah.
just had to
Hmm.
own who I was. But you're right, like spirit needs all of us, right? That if they're working with you, it's because they need you in some capacity for who you are, and that's why it's so
Hmm.
important to remain authentic. So
Absolutely.
now, listen, everyone here is going to want to follow you, right? So we've got the website, Joe Shiel. It's right there, you guys, with his name, as you can see. But Joe, on social media, where can they find you? I know you're on Facebook. Just share everyone where they can. Are you on Instagram, Joe?
I'm on Instagram as well.
Good.
Yes, and Twitter, but I'm not a Twitterer. You know.
Okay. Okay. What is your
I saw
handle?
something funny the other day. I saw
What?
something funny just the other day in front of a church that says, "Tweet others as you would want them to tweet you."
That's
That
awesome.
was
I
great.
love it. That's so great.
Okay.
What is
Mhm.
your your Instagram handle? Do you know?
No, it's probably just Joseph Shield. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay,
Mhm.
wonderful. I am so happy to have had you on. It is such a
Uh,
blessing, and I really, really, I just appreciate it so much. And
Thank
and
you.
behind you now, that's your artwork as well, right? So share.
Yes. Yeah. Those are my fine artworks. I'm working on on the fall scene and the winter scenes one from last year. So yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
people can buy your fine art on the website as well, correct?
if they just go to more about Joe Shiel and go to fine art, then you'll see some of the paintings that are there. Some of those are sold, but you can certainly look at them and let us know. Yeah, sure. But it's what I love to do. I love to paint, and I
Oh.
don't get enough time. But I'll keep dabbling away. That's what I do.
Well, again, I wanna
Okay.
thank you so much, Joe. It's just been
Thank you.
such a pleasure, and,
Thank you.
I can't wait to see you again in Lilydale or
Yep.
maybe sooner. I'll see you Saturday night on Zoom.
Saturday night. There we go.
Lots of love
We'll
to
have
you,
fun for
Joe.
sure.
Yes, absolutely, and thank
Love
you
you.
so much, and have a great night.
Many
Bye.
blessings. Thanks, Colby. Be
Thanks.
well.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to the Colby Rebel Show. Be sure to follow Colby on social media at Psychic Rebel. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please head on over to iTunes to leave a review to help Colby grow the tribe. Colby is an international psychic medium, teacher, best-selling author, and speaker. She is a master teacher of the Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development and is the owner of the Colby Rebel Spirit Center in Los Angeles. Visit Colby-11.19.20.